Okay, chapter 15, Clean and Beautiful. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. That was what Coach Malloy would tell his football team when they were behind in a game. It hung on a plaque in the Malloy's kitchen, and now, the day after the spelling contest, Caroline was looking up at it on the wall. Maybe that was meant for her. The going had certainly been tough for her lately. It wasn't enough that she had fallen in the river and almost been swept away. Not enough that everyone was mad at her because of the note she had put in her bottle. Now she had blown the spelling bee as well, and it was Wally Hatford, not she, who would represent their fourth grade in the county contest. What a lousy April! What she felt worse about, however, was that Beth and Eddie were hardly talking to her. Caroline couldn't bear being ignored. The next day after school, when the Hatford boys had gone on home, leaving the Malloy girls to walk alone, Caroline trailed woefully behind her sisters, who acted as though she wasn't even there. Finally, she said in a small, sad voice, "So what am I? Just another leg trailing along behind you?" And when neither of them answered, she said, "Maybe I'm not even a leg. Maybe I'm just a foot. A tired old foot that just clumps along at the end of a leg behind her sisters." Even though her sisters were ahead of her, Caroline could tell that from the way their cheeks puffed out at the sides that they were smiling. "A shoe!" Caroline cried pitifully. "A dirty old shoe with a floppy sole that—" "Okay, Eddie said. "Come on up and walk with us, but can you possibly stay out of trouble for once?" "I never tried to get us in trouble," Caroline said. "I never meant for us to have to do work at the police station." "That doesn't help." "Well, I'm sorry I got you guys mixed up in it, but it just might turn out to be fun." "Fun?" cried Beth. "Are you crazy?" "I've got an idea," Caroline said. "See?" said Eddie. "She's at it already." "But this wouldn't hurt anyone." "Okay, what?" "Well, you know how Sergeant Bogdan says he wants the station clean and beautiful the day of the inspection?" "I heard the word clean, Caroline. I did not hear the word beautiful." Okay, so I made that part up. "But do you remember what we did to the Benson boys' rooms when they were here last month to visit?" Eddie's eyes began to crinkle just a little. Beth's, however, opened wide. "You don't mean—" "Not wallpaper or anything, but what if we sort of tied bows to the rolls of toilet paper and put lace doilies on the tables in the reception room and daisies on the sergeant's desk? Wouldn't that be a hoot?" "They couldn't say we were doing any harm," Eddie agreed, "and everything would be neat and clean." "Let's do it, just for the fun of it. But I've got an even better idea. Don't tell the boys. Let's tell Sergeant Bogdan that Jake's in charge of the dirt squad and to let him assign us our jobs. Then, when all the stuff we've left behind is discovered, it's Jake who'll get into trouble. Except, of course, Jake will give us all the worst jobs to do, but it'll be worth it." Instead of going home, Mother was at a meeting of the Faculty Wives Club anyway. The girls knocked at the Hatford's door and Jake answered. When he saw Caroline, he almost closed the door on her, but Eddie stopped him. "Yeah," he said. "We just dropped by to say hello to Wally and see how he's doing," Eddie said. "Well, he's, Jake turned toward the living room and didn't seem to know how to answer, but Peter, who had followed his older brother to the door, chirped, "He's right over there on the couch, but Mom made a cake for him because he's the spelling champion. Aren't you, Wally?" When the girls walked into the living room, they found Wally Hatford in his racing car pajamas with red spots all over his face and arms. He had just started to stand up and make his getaway, but it was too late. He sank back against the cushions and held a pillow in front of him to hide his pajamas, and Caroline felt a sudden rush of pity for him. She really, truly did. "How are you feeling, Wally?" "How do you think?" "Did you bring him anything?" asked Peter. "Just our cheerful faces. Congratulations on the spelling bee, Wally." "Yeah, that must have been a big surprise for you, huh, Caroline?" Jake said. Wally wasn't smiling, however. He looked about as miserable as a person could look. "We just came by to tell you guys that we're really sorry Caroline got you in trouble along with us, and we feel sort of responsible. There isn't any way to make it up to you, I guess, but we'll let you be in charge of the dirt squad, as Sergeant Bogdan calls it, when we go to the police station at the end of the month. Just tell us what to do and we'll do it." "Huh?" "We'll tell Sergeant Bogdan that we're taking our orders from you, Jake, and you can supervise." Jake and Josh looked at each other quizzically. "Because," said Beth, "if we do a really good job for them, maybe the police won't be so mad at us either. There are sure a lot of things happening at the end of April. The The police station's being inspected. The principal spends the night on the roof. If we read 1,000 books, there's the county spelling contest, and one of us will win the bottle race. Well, your bottle won't make it, Caroline. It hardly went any distance at all, said Wally. Unless nobody else's bottle is found. The boys looked at each other uneasily. Anyway, Caroline is really sorry for all the trouble she's caused. She paused and looked in Caroline's direction. And with the baseball game starting next month, we just wanted to begin the season on good terms with everybody. Okay, if that's the way you want it, said Jake. Good, said Eddie. Get well, Wally. Drink a lot of water, said Beth. And try not to scratch, said Caroline. Chapter 16, Bad and Worse. They're up to something. You can count on it, said Josh. Caroline looked like the cat that swallowed the canary, said Wally. They must have been out of their minds. We'll give them the dirtiest jobs of all. I'll make them sorry they ever thought of making us boss. I think the girls are nice, said Peter. I think they said nice things, and you're just being mean to them. Us? Mean to them? Peter, if Caroline hadn't written that stupid note, we wouldn't even have to do any work at the police station at all. Well, I'll help. Fine, you can come too. We'll all be boss, Jake said. Who was that? Mrs. Hatford called from the kitchen, where she was making a pot of chicken soup for Wally. Just Caroline and her sister saying they're sorry. Mrs. Hatford came to the kitchen. Really? Maybe there's hope for that girl yet. There was baseball practice every day after school, and by the following Monday, Wally felt well enough to go watch Jake out on the baseball diamond. Peter crawled up on the bleachers beside him and Josh. If we work hard at the police station, will it keep you from going to jail? Peter asked. We're not going to jail, Josh said, but Jake is really going to make the girls work. No matter how hard he is on them, they'll be twice as hard on us if any of their bottles win the race. Whose bottle is ahead? Asked Peter. Caroline's is the only one that's been found so far. Boy, somebody's bottle had better go farther than hers by April 30th. Down on the field, Eddie was up to bat, Jake pitching. The coach had divided the players in half so that some were practicing batting and some were practicing fielding. Wally watched as the guys in the outfield automatically moved a few yards back whenever Eddie came up to bat. She even held the bat down close to the knob in a power grip, while a lot of boys held the bat farther up for more control. Whack! Went the bat, and the boy in right field had to chase the ball along the ground before he could throw it back. By that time, Eddie had made it all the way to third. It was unsettling watching her play almost better than anyone else on the team. Jake had thought that he and Eddie were evenly matched, but if Wally had a bet on one of them, it would probably be Eddie. During a break in practice, Jake climbed up on the bleachers with a cup of Gatorade and sat down beside his brothers. Man, that Eddie is really good, Wally said. Yeah, tell me about it, Jake said. Do you see how everyone moves back when she steps up to bat? Like she's the star, the big shot. Everybody will come to the game just to see Eddie Malloy play. If anyone hears you talk like that, Jake, it'll sound like you're jealous, Josh said. Well, who wouldn't be? I've been waiting to get on this 6th grade team since I was in kindergarten, waiting for when I could finally play for the Buckman Badgers. And now that I'm in 6th grade, what happens? Number 1, our best friends moved to Georgia. Number 2, the Malloys come to town. Number 3, we get in more trouble than we've ever been in before. And number 4, Eddie Malloy makes the team big time. So what can you do about it, said Josh. Nothing. But Jake smiled a little. Not exactly. I'll work her like she's never been worked before at that police station. She won't be such a big shot then. She's really going to be sorry she made me boss. The next practice day went even worse for Jake. He didn't get to pitch at all. The coach used Eddie as pitcher the whole time because she was so good at throwing strikes. It was as though Jake weren't even there. And if that weren't enough, when Jake got up to bat, Eddie struck him out. Not once, but twice. The ball came at him so fast he could hardly blink. What was she, a robot? A creature from outer space? Where had she learned to pitch like that? From her dad, of course, Jake grumbled to Wally. Dinner that evening was especially miserable. No matter what dish Mrs. Hatford passed to Jake, he said it smelled rotten. It tasted awful. He wouldn't eat garbage. How about if you eat in your room for a week and get only bread and water, Mr. Hatford said. What's wrong with you anyway? You're making the whole family upset. He's mad at Eddie, Peter volunteered. Pipe down, muttered Jake. Now, What could a girl do to put you in such a foul mood, Jake? She struck him out 2 times, said Peter. Oh, said Mr. Hafford, so that's it. Well, what do you expect? Her dad's a coach. Why couldn't you have been a coach, Dad, instead of a mail carrier? Well, son, that's the way the ball bounces, and you're going around mad at Eddie Malloy isn't going to make you a better player. Maybe if you'd pay attention to the way she pitches and the way she swings, you'd learn a little something. Oh, I'm not really mad at her. I just hate her guts, that's all, said Jake, and he angrily attacked his scalloped potatoes. Wally was never too good at sports himself, but he knew what it felt like to be jealous of someone, to feel that life was against you, to feel as though you'd like to catch the first bus out of town and never come back. Josh wasn't much help because he was working on maps for geography, and when Josh made a map, it wasn't just the basic stuff. He put in mountains and rivers and all kinds of things the teacher hadn't required just because he was so good at drawing. He only half listened to Jake's complaints. It was Wally who sat on the sofa beside Jake after dinner and tried to think of something to cheer him up. She could always get sick before a big game, and then you'd have to pitch the whole time. Eddie never gets sick. She's as strong as a horse. She's made out of steel or something. She could trip sometime running bases and break her ankle. Get real. The phone rang. If it's Eddie, I don't want to talk to her. Hello? Is this the home of Jake Hatford? Asked a man's voice. Wally hesitated. Was this more bad news or what? What had Jake done now? Yes, he said finally. Well, I thought he'd like to hear I found a bottle with his name on it, and I'm just calling to let him know. Oh, just a minute, said Wally. Jake, someone found your bottle. Take the phone. Jake leaped up from the couch, tripping on his sneakers on the rug, and grabbed the phone. Hello? Yeah? Where'd you find it? There was a long silence. Wally watched his brother, hoping for any piece of good news that might make him feel better. If one of their bottles could get past Hall, at least, then Caroline wouldn't be queen. Oh, Jake said. Then, thanks a lot. And he hung up. What did he say? Where did he find it? It was stuck in the roots of a tree, and he found it when he went fishing. But where? Just under the road bridge to the business district, said Jake. He clomped upstairs, went into his room, and slammed the door. Well, at least he didn't lie about it, Wally thought. He could have said the man found it in Cincinnati. But scarcely had the thought entered his mind when Jake came running down the stairs. Hey, Wally, just forget I said that, huh? It wasn't the business district at all. It was over by the Ohio River. Jake, it was not. You're lying. What do you care? Do you want one of the girls to boss us around for a day? I'm not lying for you, and that's that, said Wally. You don't have to lie. Just keep your mouth shut. I won't do that either. And besides, it would never work. Why not? Because you didn't ask the man what else was in the bottle, and if you can't name the secret thing the girls put inside it, it doesn't count. Jake clutched at his head, moaned, kicked a chair, and for the second time went upstairs and slammed his door. And Wally thought of another rule they'd have to add to the list. Whenever somebody got a phone call saying a bottle had been found, that person had to get a phone number for the caller so that the others could check up on it. This was getting complicated. Chapter 17 is inspection.